Hello, and welcome to the Imposter Syndrome Network Podcast, where everyone belongs, even you. Yes, I'm talking about you. You're part of the Imposter Network now. We welcome all imposters. My name is Chris Grundeman, and I'm here with my supercalifragilistic co-host, Zoe Rose.
Hey.
This is the Grant Colgan episode, and I think we're all in for a treat. Grant is a huge star on TikTok, a platform I'll admit I've never used, and he's a cybersecurity engineer as well. Howdy, Grant. Would you like to introduce yourself a bit more to the Imposter Syndrome Network?
Sure, yeah. How did you find out about TikTok? I didn't tell you about that. I usually try and keep that secret. No, it's fine. Yeah, I live in Northern Ireland. I'm a security engineer. I have been for about 8 years, I think, or been in cybersecurity for 8 years or so.
That's great. And I actually do want to start, if it's okay, with my ignorance of TikTok. We always do a little bit of research on our guests before they come on, especially the ones I haven't met yet personally. And, I saw that you have 95,000 followers, 666,000 likes, and your videos, it looks like they're getting between 2,000 and 5,000 views per each video. Some of them even much more than that. And like I said, it's a platform I've never been on. And so I'm just wondering, that those numbers sound really impressive and really good, but I don't know anything about TikTok. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about, putting out cybersecurity content on TikTok, why you started doing that, how's it going? Humbly, are those good numbers? How's the whole thing going? And I'm interested about the whole thing, really.
Yeah, sure. So, numbers wise, yeah, I think it's okay. Not from a humble perspective, I think that's okay. There's some people have millions. Putting out cybersecurity on TikTok is hard because TikTok really does not like cybersecurity people. My account is one report away from being banned. It gets taken down all the time. And
really?
Yeah. And they had the cheek recently. They put out a thing for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And they said, here are our cybersecurity champions. And they had some random people who possibly do good content. I didn't look them up. I was too salty that I wasn't one of them. It's fine. But I just thought, yeah, you're out here, you're promoting, look, here's our cybersecurity creators. Yet myself and all the other really good cybersecurity creators get banned so often and get videos taken down for illegal activities. And there's no good way to report it. So.
Oh, because you're, I guess, talking about hacking, quote unquote.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it can be illegal.
It can be. And my video explaining when it's illegal and when it's not got took down.
Of course.
I was like, really? So, yeah. Yeah, I started doing it. I'm gonna blame my wife for this, I think. I think it was her fault. I think she's coming on the podcast at some point, so, tune in for that one. She's far more interesting than me. I think she started using TikTok or started getting videos and sort of viewing them. I seen it, and I'd been doing YouTube at the time. And doing YouTube at the minute, it takes up so much time to do videos, edit them. I'm sure you're well aware. And I just didn't have the time with the kids and everything else. And I thought, well, it takes 2 seconds to record, 2 seconds to upload. Let's try it. So yeah, I still try and do both, but my YouTube is like maybe once every 6 months I get around to uploading something.
Yeah, fair. Like video editing is definitely intimidating to me, just the time commitment to get something that comes out right. I'm guessing your content resonates because I scrolled through your Twitter feed as well, and I think you're a really funny guy. Definitely your sense of humor resonates with me. So I'm assuming that's partly what comes through TikTok. And TikTok is interesting to me. I promise we won't talk about TikTok the entire time, folks, but it's interesting to me because, a bunch of news has come out lately that, kids are using TikTok as their primary search engine. Like when they want to look something up, they go search on TikTok first, which is terrifying, but also says something about, at least the current, but, importance of that platform. And then even a lot of adults are using TikTok as a source of news where there are, folks, personalities on there where that's where folks are getting their news, which isn't totally surprising because we've done that on all the other social platforms so far, right? They really quickly became kind of the news aggregators for us. But yeah, super interesting and cool to see someone at least trying to, even if you're getting smacked down every now and then, trying to bring the cybersecurity awareness and knowledge to that new audience.
I'm just going to be the voice of reason here. That is a lot of bloody followers and a lot of bloody likes. So I'm going to say, actually, that's really impressive. Regardless if you want to be humble or not, I'm going to be not humble for you because that's really impressive. But I suppose besides TikTok, what do you actually do? What's your job?
It's a weird one.
Tell me more.
Yeah, okay, so Okay, sure. I mean, I usually try and keep this secret, but for you, I'll give you an exclusive.
Ooh, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, I try and keep where I work off the internet, like the company that I work for, because I do TikTok and YouTube, and in case I say something stupid, it could come back to them. So it's actually so severe that a recruiter for the company messaged me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I seen your profile. Do you want to talk about a job?" And so I messaged him like on the internal Teams channel and said, "I'm glad you think my CV is really good." He's like, "Oh, sorry, didn't realize it."
Nice. I now I want to raise.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have. Everyone said that. I should have seen how much they were offering for the job. But yeah, so I work for CME Group, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I'm part of their security team. Up until about 7-8 months ago, I was a security engineer. So just like setting up their tools, so like their SIM tools or firewalls, all that good stuff. But I just moved inside their SOC, their Security Operations Center, for a team called the CAT team. Depending who you ask, it sometimes stands for content automation, sometimes it stands for cyber automation. Depending on how old the doc is you're reading, it changes. I think they just wanted the acronym CAT and decided to make words fit around that. And our job is to automate the whole incident response lifecycle, so from detection to response to wrapping up effectively. Not to replace our analysts, but to try and obviously keep their workload as limited as possible. So a lot of coding in Python, a lot of playing about with them. They're called SOAR tools. They're very interesting. So yeah, that's what I do.
That's really cool. Because I obviously, I work in security as well, but I always get to the point where it's like, oh, okay, we've got tools in place. We've got people dealing with tickets. I've never really gotten to the point where it's like, okay, now let's do the second phase, the innovation phase of let's do lots more automation. What do you think kind of got to the point where you're doing so well in that you can then apply? How do you apply the automation there, I suppose? Does that make sense?
Like, as in, if you were a company, at what point do you decide to start doing that? Or
no, I'm thinking more from like your perspective of like, I suppose I don't quite understand what your day to day looks like. Would you say, oh, this use case is I can make that more effective, or is it like you're assigned the automation tasks and you apply it? Does that make sense?
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's a little bit of both. We just put in a button for the engineer, for the analyst to use, little button, and they press the button, they put in their idea of something that they want us to automate, and then we automate it. But that's new, and everyone thought it was all new and shiny. The first request we got through was that the cat request button should meow when clicked. So you can imagine everyone.
That is amazing.
We might do it. We might.
I vote for that one.
Yeah, some of it is starting to come through in that form where they think of what would they want changed, or what would they want like streamlined in any way, shape, or form. But there is also an element that the team itself is fairly new, and the people who were first in the team came from the like detection and response. So they already had that fair idea of what the teams did in their day to day, and they were like, "Well, I know this sucked for me, so I'm going to automate it and change it." I came in from a purely engineering background. I had I'm not an incident responder. I'm not a detection analyst. I would look at a monitoring queue and go, "Yeah, that looks all fine to me." I don't know. So I had no idea. So I actually embedded myself into those teams, and I was like, right, teach me as if I'm you, show me your workflow. Sort of worked. I got too busy with cat stuff, and I think I've done like 2 days with them, but the idea was there. So that was something that we try and do, that if we're actively hunting for things, we would just go and sit with the team and be like, right, show me your day. What can I, let me see if I can see what could make this better.
That sounds so interesting. I really like that, actually. Wow. How do you get to that place? Like, I suppose if we look back on your journey, how did you really end up where you are, if that makes sense? Yeah.
My wife. Yeah. So whenever I was looking for a tech job, I had a wee job, like fixing computers, like basic stuff. But I was trying to get into IT like properly. And it was Katie had just started a job with White Hat Security. Eventually through her dad, he knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who managed to get me an interview. And I managed to not mess it up so bad that they hired me. And they were an IT consultancy company, but they were sort of around like the auditing space, like ISO 27001 and things like that. So what I was doing was basic IT sysadmin stuff, but it was all surrounded by security. And then with Katie being actually doing real security at the time, she started going to cybersecurity events. She was talking about cybersecurity, and I was like, this is really interesting. And so I started looking at it. And then from a previous background in the army with radios, and I started looking at the radios and the computers and made a connection that many people far smarter than me had already made, that if you treat like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth like a radio signal rather than like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, you can do some fun stuff and break it. So I started looking at that, and then I started going to conferences and talking about it, which is how I met you, Zoe, in Latvia, I think. And so I started doing that, and then I got a job as a system security administrator, which was horrible. Yeah, it was horrendous. I was there for 6 months, and then CME messaged me and said, "Hey, do you want to chat?" And I was like, "Please God, yes, get me out of here." And I've been there since.
That talk was really good, actually. The one where we met, that you were presenting, because you were talking about 5G. You were talking about 5G.
Oh, yes.
I really enjoyed that talk, actually. Yeah. So I'm kind of stealing the show, so jump in if you want, Chris. But I think the other thing I was going to ask about is, I know that security likes to use military references in the media. And we like to kind of compare it to the military, even though I have no military experience. And a lot of people I know that do that have no military experience. Granted, there are a lot of friends that I have that are ex-military. How would you say, do you think that having a job with the military really did, I don't know, give you insights that maybe a civilian background wouldn't have given you?
No. No. Don't get me wrong. It gave me some good skills. It gave me, like, I was not a people person. I mean, I'm still not, but I can like talk now. I can go up and like present, like not leadership. I'm not a leader, but you know, those sort of like management-ish style skills, like that stuff 100% was brilliant. And I've definitely taken that with me from the military, but anything else, no. If it's not a radio, that's meh. No idea.
Amazing.
And now you do some like amateur radio and then tinker with electronics. So you've kind of kept that going. And you also run the RF Hacking Village at DEF CON. So, I mean, it sounds like at the very least that was maybe spurred in the military, or was that something that were you already into RF before you got exposed to it there? Or was that the first time you saw how all that stuff works?
No, it was in the military that I got into it. But I will say the RF Hacking Village is the UK RF Hacking Village, not the DEF CON one. They're far better than me. I wish I could do their stuff. That would be amazing.
You heard it here again, folks. If you want an RF wizard at DEF CON, invite Grant.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Oh yeah. Jeez. Message me. So yeah, it's the UK version. It's like you know, whenever you're at the supermarket and you want the RF Hacking Village, and your mum's like, "No, we've got RF Hacking Village at home." Mine's the one that's at home. It's worse. It's like off-brand. You know. Yeah. The army sort of sparked my interest in radio, but if there's anyone else who's been in the signals, who's been in communications in the radio, you will know. You get handed a big lump of metal and a little manual with a flowchart that says, "Press this button, do this, do this, do this." That's it. So it was only really after I'd left that I was like, do you know what? I missed doing some stuff with radio. So I then became an amateur radio operator, and doing the tests and learning for the exams, like the clubs will teach you to pass the tests. That I learned so much more than anything I ever learned in the army. There was stuff that I learned in there, and I realized, like, you know, flashback 5 years ago, it twigged why the radio wasn't working that day because I was doing something really stupid but just didn't know. And sitting in this classroom going, "Oh, if I had just like done this, that it would have worked." Yeah, amateur radio clubs are a good place to learn radio. Military, not so much.
Nice. Okay, understood. And maybe, you know, exploring that thread of, I guess amateur radio clubs maybe aren't quite formal training or classrooms, but I think you do have some formal education as well. I believe you recently finished a postgraduate diploma in applied cybersecurity, and part of that came down to you received a scholarship based on work and personal projects you have been doing. I mean, so both of those things are really interesting to me. I wonder, maybe you start with telling us, you know, how you got this scholarship from work you were already doing. And then, you know, it's a topic that comes up a lot about, you know, college degrees and how they help careers or not and all that stuff. So I'd love to get into that as well. But maybe first, just tell us a little bit more about this scholarship and how that worked out.
Sure. I keep going back to this. My wife. So her dad, my father-in-law, he studied in Queen's, the university that did the degree. And so he got like newsletters through of stuff they were doing. And one of them was about this cybersecurity degree and that they had scholarships to give away. He had obviously sent that to Katie. Katie was looking at it, and me being the copycat that I am, I thought, oh, I'll apply for that too. Katie has a like formal education background. She's done uni degrees. She's done all this stuff. And I thought, the worst they can say is no, I'll just try. So yeah, I submitted all of the sort of the work that I did. That I was working in the consultancy company at the time. I'd already started doing the talks, and like besides London, I think I'd just wrapped that up. So sort of put that forward as to, you know, hey, I'm trying to get out there in the community. And yeah, they accepted and gave me and Katie, we both got the scholarships.
That's awesome. And then, I mean, So was it totally on a whim, or was there, kind of what was the motivation behind getting the degree? I mean, was that something that you just wanted to do personally, something that you think will advance your career, just something that you wanted to do with your wife? I mean, maybe tell us more about the motivation there.
Yeah, it was 100% for my ego. All of Katie's friends had all been through uni. So, of course, whenever started going out with her, I was hanging around with all her friends, and all of them, every single time they asked, so where did you study? I was like, I didn't. I have no qualifications. I left school with nothing. Like I failed so bad in school. And so whenever this came up, I thought, you know what, I'll try and see. I thought it might be helpful as for like career and stuff, but there was no way that was the main thing. It was, I've never been to uni. I'm going to go. This is my chance to go and do that. And then I can say I've ticked the box.
Don't feel guilty. That is exactly what I went to college for. I wanted that paper of somebody else validating I knew what I was doing. It was not because I'm like, oh, I want to go to college and spend all of my money. It was, please tell me I'm good enough. But so far, I will say your wife has been very positive on your on your career path.
Oh, career path! I would be upside down dead, and I'd be dead by now if it wasn't for her, I think.
Well, in life, she's brilliant. After you did your degree, do you think it had a big impact on your career? Or was it more, again, the personal side?
Do you know what? It didn't have an impact on either. If anything, it sort of, I don't know, removed the rose-tinted glasses of university. Because I thought, oh yeah, this is, it was a prestigious university. So I thought, a cybersecurity course, it had been endorsed by GCHQ, so, lots of big names thrown about. I thought, this is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm going to learn so much. It's going to be brilliant. No, it was terrible. I've had better courses in tech. I don't know, community colleges, would you call them in America, I think?
I think so. I think that if I compared to what I went to school for, I think it would qualify as a community college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've had better courses through them.
Yeah.
So it was called Applied Cybersecurity. So to me, in my head, it was, okay, this is something that you could take what you learn and take it straight out of industry, be useful to a company. But everything was very theory based. It was done by people who weren't actually in the industry. The information was out of date. It was appalling. If you look through my LinkedIn, you will see many rants every time they reach out every year or so and say, hey, can you give us a review or give us some feedback on the degree? And they don't listen, and so I keep complaining about it.
Oh, that's too bad.
So some of it was interesting. There's a forensics module. It was taught by someone who was in the industry, who I actually worked with at the consultancy company. That was a nice surprise when I bumped into him. And his was fantastic, because you could tell he did it day in, day out. He had some great stories about it. He knew the information. And then there was other modules, like the software module. I was sitting there, which Katie, that was her bread and butter. And we were sitting in the same room listening to the lecture, because it was during COVID, just as COVID started. And the amount of times that Katie went off, I was like, that's wrong. Don't listen to that bit. That's not how that works. The amount of times she was doing it, and she's not confrontational, so she wouldn't go on and say this to him, but you could see her getting aggravated by it. And the lecturer seemed more concerned with telling us how many big companies really wanted to hire him and how he's worked with this company and this company. I'm like, man, I don't care about you. This isn't an interview. I don't care about your CV. I want to learn about secure coding. And so, yeah, it was not good. So remove that veil.
No, that's a really good point, though. That's a really good point, though, because I think when I go to hire people and they apply, whatever, even if they don't have any experience, like maybe, for example, for interns, they're not going to have hands-on experience. But I like to see how they apply things, even just talking through their logic, for example. When I'm hiring people from a college versus a university tends to be a lot more academic. And I don't know, it makes it a little bit harder for them, because college, I feel like people are a little bit more hands-on. They have that practical side. And so that's really beneficial. I personally actually was self-taught through YouTube. So I don't think there's any school that you can go to that I'm going to be like, because you went to that school, I'm going to hire you. It's more because you applied yourself and I understand the logic you have. I think that's more the attractive side. But that's a really good point from your perspective of be careful what classes you're taking, because if they're so academic, they might actually not be as beneficial as you think. Interesting. I like that. Well, I don't like that, but it's a good lesson.
It's good to know. It's good to see, because I think there's a lot of folks we talk to who either skipped, college or university. In the US, we don't differentiate as starkly between the two. as other places in the world. But anyway, if you don't go to, higher education, then maybe, you think you did the right thing, but you don't know. You're always kind of wondering, would I have learned more? What would have happened? And a lot of folks who haven't done it have these just regret of maybe I'm not as smart as I should be or not as educated as I should be because I didn't do it. So it's feeding my confirmation bias very well to hear that you didn't have the greatest, practical knowledge just imparted upon you. Yeah.
I will clarify that it's not that okay. So I think not everywhere, but I do know in Europe, a lot of times you go to college after high school, what you would take as high school, and then you go to uni. So a lot of times you do it, but in North America, it's college or uni. It's not one and then the other. That's how it works there.
Right.
That's kind of the difference. The college I went to was equivalent to like a community college kind of setup.
So kind of jumping back a little bit, I know, Zoe asked a little bit about how you got into kind of cybersecurity and your current roles. And we talked about, you were doing some like little repair jobs and then moved in, from there and kind of got exposed to cybersecurity through the IT lens. I'd like to go even further back if we can and just, why technology? Where did that come from? Why were you working on computers in the first place? And why were you interested in moving into IT? Where did that how did you even hear about it or know about it? And then how did you know that was interesting to you?
So, yeah, I was short, skinny, not athletic, and wore glasses. So I spent most of my time inside and played on computers. The first computer I remember we had was like a Packard Bell. Do you remember the big clunky, like orange or like yellow off-white casing? I think it was it was either Windows 95 or Windows 98. I can't remember. And I remember that and like playing games on it and stuff like that. And anytime it broke, it was me and my brother would have hit it. We had no idea what we were doing, but we managed to get it working, and that was it. I was sort of hooked. I was into playing games really, and then just from playing games on the computer to that sort of then evolved into, well, if it breaks, it's going to cost money to fix. Well, can I fix it? And it just sort of devolved from there. So yeah, I'm going to blame Dungeon Keeper as the first game I remember having actually properly playing. So I'm going to blame Bullfrog for all of this. I think it's their fault.
That's a good thing to be blamed for. Blame your wife for success. Blame the games for a career choice. I like it. Throughout your career, has there been a time where you're like, I'm really good at this, or I'm really not good at this? And kind of how did you use that to direct yourself a little bit more?
I don't think I've ever thought either. I've always thought of myself as being like average, like right in the middle. Not good. I'm not terrible. Yeah. I mean, I question my ability like daily. We do a lot of coding and stuff. And a couple of days ago, I was trying to do a for loop, and it was sort of like 4x in this list, and I was just checking that the list contains stuff. So I went to print x, but I printed it in quotes. So it's just a string. So whenever I hit it, I just got a whole lot of x's on the screen. Stupid mistake. It took me 20 minutes to figure out why that was happening. And afterwards, I got a cup of coffee, and I was like, what am I doing in my life? Why? Is this really the career for me? So yeah, it was validated a bit because I sent it as a screenshot into the team's group chat, and I was like, can you see what I did wrong? And one of the other team members was like, no, that looks fine. So I'm not the only one who missed it.
I don't worry. That's basically my entire day. Every day I'm like, It's not working. It's not working. It's working. Why is it working?
Yeah. Sometimes it's more concerning when it works first time.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, nah, something not right here. But yeah, I don't think there's ever been a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm really good at this. No.
That's interesting. I mean, obviously, the title of our show is Imposter Syndrome. I wonder if you've thought about that at all, or is it just straight up humility, or where you're just kind of a naturally humble person, or is there a little bit of imposter syndrome there, which I think afflicts a lot of us who work with our minds every day in how you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a good example of the imposter syndrome actually happened today. If you look I think it's on my YouTube somewhere, there's a little device that I made called a pumpkin pie, a Wi-Fi pumpkin pie. It's a little wireless device thing. And Hackday did an article about it, and it came through today, and it popped up on my feed. And my first thought when I seen the title of pumpkin pie, I was like, someone stole the name of my thing. At no point did it cross my mind that they were writing about me. Didn't even whenever I went into it, and I was like, that looks familiar. And I was like, oh. So yeah, I thought it was ironic that we have this call today, and I was like, I thought that was quite a good example. It did not register in my brain at all until I was in the article that it could have been me.
That makes me laugh because as I said, I watched your talk about 5G and I really enjoyed it. And I would say that actually you excel quite a bit at that. And so I find it interesting because when I met you, you came across to me as quite a confident person and really good at what you did. And I find it interesting that I don't think you see what I saw as an external person.
No, not at all. Yeah, no. I like in work. I do really well in work. I've gotten promoted quite regularly. The leadership team are all happy with me. And last time I was talking to someone else who was in management, I sent them a GIF of Homer spinning in the chair in front of the control panel, and I was like, "This is what I feel like I do all day. I don't know what you're seeing. That I don't work for like half of the day. I don't know what you're seeing me do here. I don't get it."
Well, we think you're awesome, Grant. It sounds like a lot of other people do as well. Although I am sorry to say we are running out of time for today. So Grant, thank you for sharing your story with the Imposter Syndrome Network. Also, a huge thank you to all of the imposters out there tuning in. We love sharing these stories with you. If you enjoyed the chat, please do consider sharing the podcast with a friend, a family member, a colleague, or anyone looking to begin or advance their career in technology. Before we shut down, Grant, I do have one more question for you. I'm wondering, what's the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career so far?
The worst someone can say is no. I think, not to drag this on any longer, but I have a reputation in work of being the person who just sort of does things. And it's because I ask. I just go to someone like, "Hey, can we do this?" or "We need to do this," because the worst they can say is no. So yeah, I think just ask people things. You'd be surprised how many times you'll get away with it.
I like that. I think that is really powerful for sure. Do you have any projects that we haven't mentioned that you'd like all of us to know about? I mean, I guess it sounds like the pumpkin pie should be something we link to in the show notes for sure. That sounds really cool. I want to check it out. Anything else going on that the Imposter Network should know about?
InfoSec BattleBots.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's not me. I'm sort of helping a little bit. The guy is basically making like robot wars or battle bots that you have in America. He's making that for InfoSec. He brings like a small, well, it's quite big, like arena with him to conferences, and you can play about. It's in UK and Europe at the minute, and I'm helping him build out a hacker class where you can actually like use some electronic warfare and hack the robots as well as fight them. So I'm helping him with that. So that's quite interesting, I think.
Awesome. Well, what's the best way for folks to find you if they want to reach out and have a chat or something?
Twitter, probably. I'm Brains933 on basically all social media. If you find a Brains933, it's likely me.
Awesome. We will be back next week.
God, now I forget what I was going to say. Bloody hell. Please just go on. I can't remember the question. Now I feel like I'm writing an exam.
Magic of editing will remove that.
Joys of editing.